What's going on? Welcome to the 2021 edition of the Off the Schneid preview series, where I'll be going over all 32 NFL teams, breaking down their roster, schedule, giving you a record prediction, as well as helping out with some betting tips. If this is your first time on the channel, hit that subscribe button, and if you like what you hear, go ahead and smash that like button as well. Don't forget to check the description for links for the Off the Schneid social media and interact with me directly. I want to give a massive shout out to OurLads Scouting Services and OurLads.com, as all roster and depth chart graphics are straight off their site. If you've never been, go check them out immediately. I use their site for all NFL, fantasy, and betting purposes, and there's a link in the description for their site. Again, do me a huge favor and hit that like and subscribe button, but enough of that, let's get to your favorite NFL football preview. All right, we're taking a look at the Carolina Panthers. We will start at the quarterback position. New starter Sam Darnold comes in. Last year, Teddy Bridgewater, and we'll include PJ Walker in this conversation because he did play some games. 550 roughly total passing attempts, 4,000 yards roughly, 16 touchdowns, 16 picks. I think it's pretty easy to say that Sam Darnold should be able to eclipse those marks. I would imagine that's what I'm projecting him to do. I think he should be the better quarterback all around. Dealt a pretty unfair hand in New York. Had a lot of coaching turnover, and Adam Gase being there period just kind of limits him, in my opinion. Changes at the offensive line, all kinds of stuff. Sam Darnold's dealt a pretty unfair hand, in my opinion. Gets a second shot, new lease on life type of thing here in Carolina. Much better offense, much better offensive coordinator, offensive mind, that sort of a thing. And weapons, I think, are in a much better spot here as well. We're going to see, as long as he doesn't hear these footsteps like he's been talking about over the mono he had, all that kind of stuff. If he could stay healthy, I think that there's a very good potential that he surpasses those totals, those passing totals. And, he can run the ball just as good, if not better, as Teddy Bridgewater, who had 53 attempts, 279 yards, and 5 touchdowns. I think that Darnold could at the very least match those rushing totals, and they should be able to run this offense basically the same way that they had it with Teddy Bridgewater, but with a little more, passing potential and potential ability to make throws that Teddy couldn't. So there you go. Backup quarterback position, PJ Walker obviously comes back, former Temple guy with Matt Rule. Will Grier's still there. That's going to be an interesting competition to keep an eye on in preseason, that backup quarterback spot. I really like Will Grier a lot coming out of college. Again, he was kind of dealt an unfair hand when he did get a shot to play. It wasn't in a good situation. So with a little more seasoning, practice under his belt, that kind of a thing, I think that he can succeed. I'm not saying that he's ever going to be a starter in the league, but I think he could be a capable backup, maybe with this team. I think that there's a very good possibility that he beats out PJ Walker in preseason for that backup quarterback role. We'll see what happens. It's worth keeping an eye on, I think. They did what I said, moving to the running back position, did what I said. They had to draft a guy, 4th, 5th round, drafted Chuba Hubbard in the 4th. Canadian kid from just up the road, and I think he's from Sherwood Park, which is basically Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I really like Chuba Hubbard, former 2,000-yard rusher at Oklahoma State. I think that he is the unquestioned backup to Christian McCaffrey here. I think Trenton Cannon might be a bit of a return guy, gadget-type guy. Reggie Bonifon just hasn't really gotten there. So I think Chuba Hubbard is unquestionably the unquestioned number 2 running back in this offense. And realistically, he'll play a bit of a role as long as Christian McCaffrey's healthy. He's the guy, all 3 downs, not going to leave the field a ton. So, and he's one of the best in the league. Consensus first overall fantasy pick probably is. I think he is. Just don't overthink it and take the guy, but whatever, that's a different story. Tight end position's in a good spot. They bring in Dan Arnold, who I love, and I'm really interested to see where this move tight end kind of role evolves into, or what it evolves into. There's a lot of guys already in the league and then coming into the league that fit that mold. Dan Arnold was a guy last year for the Cards. Kyle Pitts comes in. Jacob Harris with the Rams comes in. Even guys like Harrison Bryant for the Browns. Potentially Njoku for the Browns as well. There's a lot of guys like that in and around the league, and it seems like there's a bit of a trend catching on where, former small school wide receivers, maybe just big body wide receivers that even Chase Claypool. There was talks about Chase Claypool moving to tight end last year, which I thought was crazy. And it is still, but either way, there seems to be a bit of a trend forming, and I'm very interested to see what that can evolve into. And Dan Arnold, for me, is one of those guys. He might be a poor man's Kyle Pitts sort of a guy, but I think I'm very interested to see how he looks in this offense. We'll move to the offensive line first. They did address it a little bit in the draft, which I like. I think that Cam Erving, I'm not sure who's going to be the starter at left tackle. I'm not ready to name anybody the starter personally, and I'm sure that the Panthers aren't either. They bring in Cam Erving. They got Greg Little still there, and they drafted Brady Christensen in the 3rd round this year. Taylor Motton's got the right side locked down, and those 3 guys, I think, all make the team, and they're, backup swing tackles, maybe move them into a guard position if need be, although they have Dennis Daly and Pat Elflein there as well. Matt Parady's a very good, veteran center there that can lock that down. John Miller's there as well. Deontay Brown, big body guy. You got to watch his weight. He's got to stay in shape, that kind of a thing. And I don't expect him to be a starter. That's a disaster. I think if Deontay Brown is a starter, he's just a people mover, much better in run blocking than he would ever be in pass blocking. So, it kind of limits him a little bit potentially. We'll move to wide receivers in a great spot now. I really like what the Panthers are doing, honestly, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but for the past 2 seasons, the Panthers have really addressed everything that I asked them to, and there's video proof of all of it, so you can go watch it if you don't believe me. But they've done literally everything that I've asked them to do, and I love it. I absolutely love what they're doing. Sorry about that, guys. I absolutely love what they're doing. They're moving in the right direction. They're going to win more ball games this year, and they did last year as well. They're going to just keep progressing, in my opinion. Great coaching staff. Matt Rule and Joe Brady definitely know what they're doing. Phil Snow as well, who's Temple with Matt Rule. I'm very happy with the direction the Panthers are going in. I think every Panthers fan should be as well, even though I'm not sure they quite get there this year, but we'll see at the record prediction in a minute here. Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall. I'm not sure who's going to be playing the slot. I think it'll probably be Terrace Marshall. They can move them all. They can all, like DJ Moore played, I think, 16% of his snaps from the slot last year. Robbie Anderson was 26.5% from the slot last year. And then Terrace Marshall played, 75% roughly of his snaps at LSU last year. Obviously didn't play the slot while Justin Jefferson was at LSU, but Joe Brady, I think, likes those big body slot receivers. Not that he didn't like Curtis Samuel, who's not quite that size, but Curtis Samuel's very good. So I think it made up for the difference in what Joe Brady wants from that position, if that makes sense. David Moore comes in from Seattle. I do like him as well. Another slot type of a guy. I do expect maybe Brandon Zylstra to win a job here and probably maybe make the team. I think Shi Smith makes this team as well. He played for Matt Rule in the Senior Bowl and looked great. And I'm a big fan of Shi Smith. I really like him. It's just going to be tough for him to find a role, I think. I'm not sure if he's going to be a return guy. I think Trenton Cannon probably takes over that role, but maybe, and even David Moore could take over that role, but we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out, and I'm interested to see these camp battles for this team, especially, teams like this, especially teams that I'm liking the direction that they're moving. I want to pay attention to them in camp to see, what happens, who makes, the team where and what they're going to do, sort of a thing moving forward. Just because I think they're a team of the future, kind of. They're moving in a direction where it's going to be, very much an expectation to be a playoff team very soon, I think. So we'll move over to Phil Snow's defense. You got Derek Brown in his second year, who's fantastic. Bravion Roy is back in his second year as well. A lot of these guys are coming from the draft. They're the second youngest team in the NFL, and I think they're going to just continue to improve. Brian Burns is fantastic. Very big fan of Brian Burns. Yeturgos Matos needs to take a step this year, and I think he will. Morgan Fox had, I think, 5 sacks, I believe, last year for the Rams, something like that. He comes in and can help get after the quarterback, which they absolutely need to do. They were in the bottom, 10, bottom 7 in the league at sacks for the defense, basically. Hassan Reddick comes in as well, 12.5 sacks last year. Hassan Reddick and Marquise Haynes had 4 sacks, I believe, last year for this team. Both undersized guys for the defensive end position. Are they going to play defensive end for this team? I'm not so sure. I think that they both give this team a lot of flexibility with giving opposing offenses different looks, and you might not be sure where it's coming from, kind of a thing, especially with a guy like Jeremy Chin as well. I think that these guys are giving them a lot of flexibility. Temple guy, Hassan Reddick, if I didn't say that. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch this defense. I think they're a little weak at linebacker, which has not been a thing for the Panthers in some time, but I think they're a little weak there. I don't mind Shaq Thompson. I'm not, I mean, it's fine. He was a first round pick. I'm nowhere near calling him a bust. I don't think he quite got to where they want him to be, but maybe he takes that step this year. And maybe he's that guy that absolutely leads this team. And I'm not saying he's not a leader. I'm just saying, I don't know. I think that, maybe he takes a step this year. Maybe he takes that step this year and he becomes like 120, 30 tackles total type of a guy. 80 solo tackles, something like that. Because I still think that they might be a little weak against the run. But maybe if he steps up and is that guy, then that stuffs it up with Derek Brown as well. And like Davion Nixon, he comes in the 5th round. I do like that pick as well. I'm just not so sure about Denzel Perriman. I'm not so sure that he can be that guy. A lot of injury history there, and there's not really much backing those guys up. So I think that linebacker is realistically the only weakness now, which is awesome because they were absolutely weak on the back end, but they very much addressed it, bringing in AJ Boye in free agency, and then 8th overall JC Horn comes in with Dante Jackson, who's fantastic. Troy Pride, I think, can play. They draft Keith Taylor, who maybe will play a little bit safety. Hard to say. He's a big guy. Rashawn Melvin is a solid vet there. Jeremy Chin's one of my favorite safeties right now. I'm not going to say he's one of the best safeties in the game, but he's quickly moving towards that tier, that upper echelon of safety in the NFL. I'm a huge, huge fan of Jeremy Chin. And like I said, he's moving in that direction. Justin Burris can still get the job done. I do like Kenny Robinson there. And like I said, Keith Taylor might slide over and play a little safety as well. So I like this team, man. Lot to like, and I really just love the direction that they're moving, especially when, a lot of things that I'm saying, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but a lot of things that I'm saying they are doing, and I love that. I think they're moving in the right direction. I think they're going to win more games. So with that, let's take a look at their record prediction. All right, 8-9, low, high, my, you see it there. I do think there's a possibility that they become a winning team this year. A lot would have to go right for them to eclipse that 8-9 mark. I think that that's right around where they should finish. Their schedule's very interesting. We'll get there in a second. Actually, I want to talk about the betting line here. I said on the Saints, I think Saints fans are probably going to be pretty mad at me, but it is what it is. I said that I'd rather take a dart throw on the Carolina Panthers to win this division, even though the Buccaneers are winning this division. That's that. There's no questions about it. They are going to win this division. Like I said in the Saints episode, gun to my head, if I had to pick another team, I think I'd rather take a shot on this Panthers squad getting there, kind of a thing. And the reason why, if you look at their schedule, we'll go through it right now. Their first quarter is a bit of a cakewalk. Their final quarter, I know it's not quarters anymore, but pretty close. Their final quarter is extremely difficult. But if they could get rolling, then you never know. Kicking the season off against the Jets, I think that's an extremely winnable game. Obviously, it's like a revenge game at home for Sam Darnold. First game in Carolina, fans in the stands. I think that they absolutely get that win. And then at home against New Orleans, again at home, I think they can definitely get that win. I'm not saying that that's 100% a win, a game that they're going to win. I think that they definitely beat the Jets. I think that they struggle against New Orleans, but I think they absolutely can get that win. On the road against Houston, I think pretty much everybody beats Houston this year. I think they're going to have a very, very tough season. So even on the road, I think they absolutely can get that win. On the road against Dallas, they're not going to beat the Dallas Cowboys. So realistically, in the first quarter of the season, they could be 3-1. And, then it's not like it gets crazy hard from there, up until their bye. At home against the Eagles, very much a winnable game, especially at home. I think that these teams are fairly similar, but I think that they could get this win at home. At home against the Vikings, I think the Vikings are very much an improved team. I think that is a winnable game at home. I'm not going to just give it to them. And again, that's like the low high my here is very, fairly extreme. I don't see them losing more than 6 games. But I think it's possible. Just, there's some fringe games here. Again, they could surpass it. I just don't see them winning more than, I don't see them getting a double-digit wins and making the playoffs sort of a thing. On the road against the Giants, a winnable game, but I think that the Giants can get that win at home. At Atlanta, I think that there's possibility that everybody sweeps the Falcons this year. I think they're going to have a tough year. I just think that, with their defense, I watched the Falcons episode, I guess. I'm not going to get into it here, but I think there's potential they could just split with the Falcons, and that's the best case scenario for the Falcons. I think it's possible that the Panthers sweep, but at worst, they're gonna split with the Falcons. At home against the Patriots, I think that that's going to be a tough game to get the win. The Patriots defense is just way too good. We'll see what happens with Stephon Gilmore, but if Gilmore's there, they're gonna. I really don't think the Panthers get that win. If Gilmore's not, I give them a better shot, but it's still going to be a tough game. That Patriots defense is very, very stout. On the road against Arizona. So this is basically right now, right here, that this Patriots game on is when their schedule starts to get much more difficult. But like I said, if they're rolling and things are going well, you never know. You might be able to squeak out a winning season type of thing. On the road against the Arizona Cardinals, tough game. Possible game that they can win, especially if they can get going throwing the ball, because I think the Cards are weak against the pass. But we'll see. I think that the Cards probably get that win at home. The football team at home, I give the edge to the Washington football team just because their defense is too good. It is just too good for a guy like Sam Darnold. Even in Carolina, I think that they're going to be able to get that win. We'll see what happens with the quarterback position there, but that's a fringe game, bit of a fringe game. At Miami, another bit of a fringe game there, very winnable, but that defense is very, very good, very good. So they're playing three of those 4 games in a row there. Patriots, football team, Dolphins, all very, very, very tough defenses. 2 of the games are at home, so you never know. Like I said, if they're rolling by week 13, I don't mind that. I probably would rather an earlier bye week if I'm the Panthers. I don't expect them to be a playoff team, and maybe they would have a better shot if their bye was, say, week 8, and they can catch their breath before facing this gauntlet moving forward towards the end of the season here, schedule wise. They come out of their bye against Atlanta at home, and I think they absolutely get that win. Not really much of an issue there. I think they get that win there. On the road against Buffalo, and here's where I'm saying the final quarter of the season here. 3 of their final 4 games are on the road, and I don't see them winning any of their final 4 games. I just don't. I think they can get that win against Atlanta after the bye, but after that, on the road against Buffalo, I don't think they can win that game. At home against the Bucs, I think the Bucs can sweep the Panthers relatively easily, unless week 18 the Bucs are sitting everybody, which is very possible. and then the Panthers might be able to get that win and put them over the edge and be 9-8 sort of a thing. I don't know. And let's say they split with the Saints. That's kind of how I'm looking at the Panthers. Split with the Saints, maybe sweep the Falcons, but probably split, and they get swept by the Bucs, unless, like I said, they're sitting everybody in week 18, which there is potential of that happening. So maybe they could get double-digit wins. I think that that's a little lofty for this season. I love the direction that they're going. I absolutely love it, and I think next season I'll be putting them in the playoffs almost certainly, unless Sam Darnold just completely poops his pants this year. And even if he does, then we'll see what they do at the quarterback position. There's a lot of names out there that are still thinking about moving on. And I think that Carolina will be a desirable landing spot for a lot of quarterbacks, given what they're going to look like this season, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. But there you go. There's your breakdown for the 2021 Carolina Panthers.